Hey, it's That Skydive Sim Guy here today with my guests, Chris and Chuck from Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy's Navy SEAL Museum. How are you guys doing?
Doing excellent.
Doing great. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me. Chris, I'll start with you. You're the executive director and former Navy SEAL. Tell me a little bit about your background as well as what you do at the museum.
Well, I grew up here in New York, went into the service when I was about 20, went through the special boat unit training, and then went through the SEAL team training and was stationed at SEAL Team 2. Did about 7 years in the service before I got injured and then medically retired. Came back home to Long Island and started a company doing audio, video, and technology for private residences. And over the years, really was into that. And then it got to hear that there was whispers there was going to be a Navy SEAL museum created on Long Island. So probably seven or eight, maybe even 9 years ago, I started trying to get involved with the museum. Once I got in touch with the family, I was able to offer my services. And my original thought was I was going to come in as an audio video expert, design the systems for their, TV displays, projection, sound, burglar alarm, fire alarm, cameras and things of that nature. And then that would be kind of my donation or my role. That was what I was looking to do. And that was my, hopes with getting involved. And it turned into something a lot greater than I expected. They offered or asked me to be on their board while the museum was being created. I was the resident SEAL on the board to try to help with decisions on what to display, if it was going to be, period correct and things of that nature. And as that progressed, I was helped with the decisions with creating the museum, ultimately doing the audio video work and design of the museum. And then when we got close to the museum's opening, the family came and asked for me to, if I would be interested in running the museum.
That's great.
And as I was getting older, I've been doing the audio video stuff for 20, almost 20 years at that time. I thought it may be a nice shift in quality of life and, something I could be passionate about, and serving again, kind of in a different capacity. So, I changed roles. I still have my audio video company. We still do things, but on a very, very small, pretty much serving my clients that I have, not looking for really new clients, but yeah, and on a day-to-day operations, I'm here at the museum with Chuck and Donna, and we make this thing tick.
You sure do. Chuck, tell me a little bit about you and your background and what you do at the museum.
So
as well.
I grew up here in Long Island also. I also kind of was in the audio industry. I was a live sound engineer touring with bands for a number of years. So as soon as I finished high school, I was on the road for 5 years before I wound up joining the military. Wound up going into the Navy, wanted to go into the Special Forces, but couldn't. Vision issues. But I had, at that time, been a rating that was acceptable for the special operations. So I continued with that, did all my schools, got a couple extra schools, and then was assigned to Coronado as support. So I worked with EOD, Mobile Unit 3, the boat units, and support for the teams, anything that anybody needed. Spent about 3 years there and then went to aircraft carrier USS Nimitz. Spent about 1.5 years there till I got injured and was medically separated from the military. Came back to New York in 2001, just before 9/11. And then when 9/11 happened, everything starts changing, of course. And so here we are 20 odd years later where I'm getting involved with the Lieutenant Michael Murphy Navy SEAL Museum, become a plank owner and a member. As it's opened, I'm kind of coming in twice a week since I live local and spending some couple hours each day here talking with everybody. And then wound up being offered a job to kind of come and work and share the knowledge that I had learned while I served and while I served with in Coronado, and it's a great thing.
That is great. Yeah, it looks like they pulled you both in. You guys weren't really trying to do what you're doing, but you kind of got brought in just with the right people.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just was more of a life happening, where things align and people cross your path, and you may not expect it or have been looking out or looking forward to something like that happening, or a change. If somebody told me years ago that I would be dressing mannequins and giving tours at a museum, I would say you're crazy and laugh. But that's what I'm doing now. So
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of that,
different.
tell me a little bit about the day-to-day operations. What do you do? You really dress mannequins?
Well, maybe not daily, but I definitely dressed my share of mannequins now. Chuck has done the same, but we're responsible for creating excitement. Let me say that. Let me use that term. There's only so often that you can go to a museum if there's not a new exhibit or something different. How often would you come back to that same museum? So we're trying to ensure that every few months that there is a new display, something's changed, something more interactive, updates. So, we're constantly brainstorming on how can we make the museum, memorable, where people would be excited to come back again. That's really what we do day to day in a brainstorming situation. But normally we're walking around ensuring that anybody that's visiting, if they have any questions, making sure all of the displays and exhibits are functioning correctly, and then operating the rides, and that type of stuff. Trying to market and promote, the museums here.
Right. Chuck, you want to
Yeah,
add to
well,
that?
we do a lot of school groups. So, like Chris said, with the tours and stuff, sometimes it could be 80 or so students. So you're kind of doing movies, you're doing rides, you're getting them doing a skydive simulation jump, and just kind of talking day to day about what the UDT and SEALs contributed from World War II to the current date, and how it affects everybody's lives today.
Speaking of the skydive simulation and all that, Chuck, you and I met early, about a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago, when you wrote on our support page saying that ride along feature wasn't working, which is a feature we had in there that I didn't even know anybody's going to. We made it originally for a Nike experience where they had an event and they wanted to do almost like a tandem jump, and the people that were at the event would just kind of get to experience that. So we had taken all the Nike stuff out and put it on the store just for people to experiment. And then you said it's not working anymore. You also said, oh, there's kids that put it on. And to be honest, I thought it's just like a small office, like a doctor's office or something that's checking it out. But then you and I talked, and I saw this is a lot bigger than what I had thought. And you guys actually have like a lot of people that tour there. So tell me a little bit about the experience you guys have with that.
Before I really got involved, Chris and the board and others had discussed adding a skydive simulation to it. So they had kind of reached around and they had found Skydive Sim. So we had the meta system, and we kind of were starting to build the area. And then when we started building it, we found that with the Skydive Sim for the kids and stuff like that, and the regular patrons, sometimes it was a little more to try to get them into one of the other areas of the jumps. So what we found that worked easiest for everybody was to put them on a tandem jump and let them do the jump to the Statue of Liberty and the base jump in the city. And then all of a sudden it was gone. It wasn't working or something. And that's when I had reached out and we started talking about, you were saying that you didn't even realize anybody used it. And I explained that was the reason we were using it. But then we had the chance to talk about doing a jump to the museum, which we had talked about here. That would be a much more fun idea. as I kind of jumped into Google Earth on the Skydive Sim and saw I could put in the museum's address and do a jump to the museum. So we kind of pitched that to the board and pitched it to you, and you came up with a great plan also.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea because, it kind of ties the whole thing together. They're landing right in front of your museum and they've already walked in, so they recognize it. So a chance to see it from above. And we also talked about, I think originally we did a very easy one because we wanted everybody to be able to go through it. And then you came back and said, hey, can we make this a little bit more difficult or maybe have different difficulties? Tell me what inspired that.
What we found, with everybody, like when we did it, we had to make it kind of like a game because obviously when they jump out of the aircraft, you don't know where the museum is or anything like that. So we kind of made it so you're coming right to it with rings and different objects that were items that, the SEAL teams and the operators would be carrying or utilizing. So when you were doing the easy level, you always went through the ring and you always landed perfectly at the spot in front of the museum. So it was kind of like, yeah, it was fun, but it was just a thing. So when we kind of talked about making multiple levels, and we did easy, medium, hard. So now you could land off course a little bit. You could, by the time you got the hard, you could land in a tree or you could bounce off the building. But it made it more challenges. They went quicker as you went into the medium and hard. So you had to be more reactive to it, and it made you challenge yourself to get better on it. And then we kind of threw in the scoring also,
Right.
which then it becomes a competition between each other.
Definitely. Yeah. And I know that I think I had showed you what we were working on at the time, which was a New Balance shoe, another one of those event things. And in that one, they were releasing a new shoe. So they wanted their patrons to be able to catch the shoes as they're coming down on their canopy. And we showed you that. And you guys came up with these really interesting objects to collect as you're coming down. How did you guys come up with the objects?
It would just be more of like a mission-centric kind of loadout. So if you needed night vision, a weapon, a backpack, things of that nature. So we just wanted to have a little more SEAL-centric, cool kind of things. Like, oh, I need to grab this. Almost like playing a video game and having like a medical pack so you can get extra life. Like to have that kid mentality where they understood what they were doing and helped you direct them. While skydiving, the whole premise of this came up, like Chuck said, a long time ago, where I saw a Skydive Sim, I tried it on the Meta, and I brought it to the board saying, hey, let's do a virtual experience. Chuck and you have brought this to a whole nother level that I couldn't even have imagined, by your collaborating together. So, we learned early on that if you just did it straight Skydive Sim and somebody jumped out, did a hop and pop and opened too early, it would have taken them 20 minutes to get down, and you'd have to explain all the buttons and how to move. And because of our tours that we do where the kids are very excited to try it, we needed something that was a little less learning curve, quicker kind of experience where it was only a minute or two so we could cycle through people, and something that would be, a fun experience. So you and Chuck came up and honed this into what we have now.
We did. And I want to actually ask you something. You're a former Navy SEAL, so obviously you skydived. What was your first impression when you saw the store version? You said you tried it and you jumped. What did you think when you tried that out?
Oh, well, you get, I haven't jumped in a while. I don't get the opportunity in New York to jump as much as I would like to do. But when I broke it out with Chuck and we're standing in the, our like conference room area of the museum, and I'm stumbling around with the VR goggles on because it felt so realistic as you're moving, it was shocking on how much a video game with the goggles can trick your brain into feeling the sensations that you do feel. The only thing I was missing was the wind at that time and, the gut feeling when you open. that deceleration feeling, so that was really, the two things that were missing in the game, but it was very realistic and very impressive when I first, tried it. And then we gave it over to Chuck, and I think you were doing the same
Yep.
thing, bopping around, right?
Yeah. What was your
So-
impressions, Chuck?
It was funny because I'm watching Chris and I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And I put it on and I had the same experience, as you're coming in and you feel like you're coming into land pretty quick and you're bracing yourself and you start taking steps like you got to, stop yourself as you're going. And it was a lot of fun. And then to keep trying different ones, and like in the original one, I would do the stadium jumps and stuff like that because I like trying to get into the stadium areas. And the same thing, you kind of feel that rush, but you don't have the wind. So like what we did with the one that we set up now for the kids and everything, we put some fans in here so we can add some wind. And we try to incorporate some of those things that we thought were missing anyways. But we do have a lot of people that try to walk and try to move around, and we have people that lose their balance. So we have to be careful with some. But everybody has the same feelings where it's very realistic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Once you put the headset on, you kind of forget. And based on what you both described, I'm guessing you both did it standing up, not sitting in a chair, correct?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Standing up, and if you jumped out and pulled, it took a long time to get down.
Yeah.
Even if you were, trying to force the chute to dump air, you still would take a while.
Yeah.
But, I remember a couple of times playing with it where I could feel myself like beating up with sweat, because you're moving around and doing stuff. But it's very realistic and very, a very good simulation.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So you guys, aside from Skydive Sim, you have another room which has the motion chair, and I think it's a submarine experience. Tell me a little bit about that experience you guys have going on.
No, I'm going to let you, because you dealt with Wyllie a lot more on that one.
Okay. Yeah. So when we were creating the museum, Mr. Murphy, Michael's dad, saw this 7-seat kind of experience ride somewhere. He wanted something for the kids because sometimes younger kids, don't appreciate a museum, maybe have a little loss of interest midway or something. And he wanted the kids to leave with like having fun. So his initial, request was to get a ride. So we purchased this ride from the Ukraine, a company from the Ukraine, and it came. It's rock solid. We've been using it for 3 years straight. But it's a 3-motor, XYZ kind of access where you get full motion. It has fans for wind. It has mist, to get a feel of mist into the fan. Has leg ticklers with compressed air, strobes, and full 3D. So it's a very immersive ride. And we had that going for quite some time, but that, there's only so many times you can go on that ride until you go, well, this, what else do you got? And that's, kind of where we said, let's do the skydive, immersion.
Yeah. Chuck, do you want to add to that?
Because I know recently we were even talking about, because we're trying to look at ideas to upgrade the ride to incorporate something new to that ride area. So we've talked about different things like a mission style. And then you and I have also talked about, possibly doing something like with the Skydive Sim in there, and as a jump or a mission type of jump, that the access of the base and the chairs would actually be able to function with the video outputs. So whether it was a jump to the water, to a boat, to a traveling to a ship or whatever it was, we've been talking about those types of ideas, as well as just the jump in general on that ride, to incorporate something else. And then we'd have a couple different ride options. So it could be something new if they've had the other experience before.
Right. So you would just kind of change it out so it's not the
Every
same thing
time.
every time, or you just add new ones and then 3 months later, they'd be like, oh, let's go see what's there. But yeah, those motion chairs are great, and you can fit a lot of people in next to each other. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to our collaboration on that as well, to kind of see what we come up with, what we can do. There is other Navy SEAL museums as well. Do you guys have any affiliations with them, or do you work with them closely?
Well, we're not directly affiliated with them. There was the original National Navy SEAL Museum that's down in Fort Pierce, Florida. They have now opened a Navy SEAL Museum in San Diego, which is kind of a teaser museum right now, where I believe they're going to try to build a larger museum in San Diego. I don't know how do they phrase
They're
that,
going to
Chuck,
kind of
for
use
San Diego?
the San Diego one as their platform, their jump platform there. And then they're gonna look to build one from the ground up right along the waterfront area, and then kind of have that as their, that'll be their main museum, but the other one will be their showcase. I went out there in September as the pre-opening, just to get an idea. I believe it was originally the Museum of Modern Art. It's right next to the trolley station in downtown San Diego. Really nicely done, a lot of technology. And they have I think we kind of discussed, they had an Oculus style experience of their own, where they do a shipboarding. And with each chick, I think they did 5 persons, but each person is in a separate chair. Instead of like our ride room has a 7-person ride room, they have individual chairs and different units.
Yeah, so we're not affiliated with them. We work well together. So we're trying to share resources now. I know the SEALs that run both of those museums. Chuck is very close with the museums themselves, just from our personal support and time of visiting and things of that nature. So we have a great relationship with them, but we're just not in a business sense, working together.
I see. Makes sense. Yeah. Makes total sense. So tell me a little bit about the groups. I know you said you guys have small groups coming over there, and then you have some really large groups coming in. Tell me about day-to-day of that.
So what we would do with a small group, 20 or 30 people, that is fairly routine for us. We have that down pretty well. A lot of times the group, it just depends on how much time they have to spend at the museum. If they have a long time, 3 or 4 hours, then we could give them a movie in our conference area. So they could sit down and watch Lone Survivor for 2 hours if they, never seen that movie and it's age appropriate. So we could do a movie first, then bring them in, do a tour for about 45 minutes, and then have a ride, with the motion 7-seat ride, and then their group could go through the Skydive Sim area. So we can incorporate multiple things to give you a really cool experience. With the larger groups, there's only so many people that can fit in an area at one time, and there's only so loud that I can speak. So we limit those to about 50 people, a group. So that's probably 50, 60 max would be, the largest group that we would take. So if there's a school, and we do have a lot of schools that come this way, they would bring about 120 people. So we would take 60, put them in the movie in that conference area, start the movie. I would take 60. They would do the tour, the rides, do all of that, explore, and then we would swap the whole unit. So everybody gets the full experience. Nobody misses out. And sometimes we can't use the Skydive Sim, but it's just a time issue. Because we don't want to show. We don't want to show one kid or get 1 or 2 kids to do it, and then all of a sudden you have 80 other kids going, "Nah, that's not fair. I didn't go."
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, yeah. So it's a little more involved getting the headset on and doing that stuff with each person. So it's a lot of hands-on with a lot of people. So.
It sure is. Chuck, do you
No,
want to
I mean,
add
I
to
think
that?
that pretty much covers it. I mean, we've had some other groups that are not even school groups. Business groups, business partners, and boards, county officials that have had events here, veterans groups that have had events, and the same thing. They usually will use the conference area first, and then kind of come through, do the tours. Of course, we do the skydive with everybody that's interested. And the vast majority of people that have come through have wanted to at least try it. Some of them don't necessarily do the whole thing, but they give it a shot.
Yeah, makes total sense. And then you guys have a golf course near you, right? You have people from the golf course coming in.
Oh, well, it's not a bad thing having the golf course near us. We do get some incoming golf balls, even though we have
Oh, golf
125
balls.
foot nets up. So we do have a issue per se of flying objects sometimes, but people do come here to golf because it's a county park, and they then see that the museum's here. So it's kind of nice because you do have some exposure. But we really haven't had many people come
No.
over with their golf clubs, right, Chuck? Afterward, yeah, it's more they were golfing and then they saw the museum and then they come back. There is another museum on the property, which is a maritime museum. That's a much older museum, very nice museum, but that covers more of the Great South Bay here on Long Island. Where it would be all the clamming and oyster men from back in the 1800s. They show all of those things. So it's a much different type of museum than what we have. We have a lot of explosions and gunshots.
Oh, wow.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
So tell me what's coming up first quarter, second quarter. Tell me what you guys have planned.
Well, I know
Go for it,
we've
Chuck.
been recently approved for a Black Hawk helicopter, so we'll be getting a helicopter hopefully coming in late spring. I believe it is. It's supposed to be decommissioned the end of this month, beginning of January. Working, we have a desert patrol vehicle that will be getting set in place shortly, and then we'll start with our workups to our spring. We do the Murph Challenge here, so we'll start getting that ready. Hopefully that'll launch with Forge. I believe it's going to be around the beginning of February again, like last year. And then we'll start planning for there because we'll have the Murph Challenge here at the museum the weekend of Memorial Day. So we usually do it Saturday. Have people come down and do the Murph Challenge with their friends and family and make a day of it here at the museum with us.
Tell me more about the Murph Challenge, what it all
Chris?
involves.
So the Murph Challenge is a workout that Michael used to do when he was deployed, and most people believe that, or may have it in their mind that the military travels with like a LA Fitness or some sort of gym with them, and that's not true. You use what you have around you, especially when you're in the desert or in a operating base where you're sleeping in tents. Everything is very temporary. So that's kind of how CrossFit came about, where you would be flipping tires or pulling ropes and, doing that sledgehammer, hitting a tire. You're doing things that are around, doing exercises that you could with things that are around you. So Michael used to run with a weighted vest on, his bulletproof vest. So he would run a mile. He would then do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then another mile run, all with a weighted vest. So that, after he died, somebody heard about it, brought that workout back and started doing it locally in Arizona, and it spread through CrossFit, and it became a very big international kind of workout, raising money for the Murph Foundation and now for the museum. So it's an annual event. People do it every day. CrossFit utilizes it in a lot of the workouts, but it's a very well-known workout now. But we host it here. We've been hosting it since we opened. Last year we had about 320 participants. This year we're hoping to set a Guinness record with largest MRF in one place, and then hopefully simulcasting with the largest MRF in the country with multiple locations. So that's going to be one of the big things that Chuck and I are focusing on, beginning of next year, starting to coordinate that, because that's going to be a little bit more with logistics.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, it sounds like a good workout. I'm sitting here listening to you and like 200 push-ups. I wonder if I can do 10.
Yeah, you can break it up. So a lot of people break it up.
Oh, okay. You can break it up.
The mile, you're supposed to do it, and I don't want to say unbroken, but you're supposed to do 100 pull-ups all,
back to back, right?
Together. Granted, you may come off the bar, and do sets of 10 or sets of 5. So what I do is I do the mile run, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats, 20 sets of those.
I see.
And then I go and run a mile again. I'm in my 50s now. I don't have the same stamina or ability as these 20, 30-year-olds to do 200 push-ups in a row.
I hear you. Yeah. Is there anything you guys want to add that we haven't talked about?
Well, we're always looking for donations. We're always looking for support. We are not federally funded or backed. The state, local governments don't give us any grant money or any support. So we are 100% donations and admissions. It's something that's not an easy way to keep a museum alive, but that's where we're at. That's how we're structured right now. We're working on getting better funding sources, but any support would be great. You can come in and do the Skydive Sim. We would love to have people visit. Chuck, tell them about who came by the other day. What a family did
yesterday?
The other day.
So we had a family of 6 that drove in 13 hours from Georgia, and they came to Long Island because they wanted to come to the museum. So they came out. They got to the island. They were a little early, so they went to breakfast, and then they went out to the Hamptons to go see the beaches, and then came back once we opened at 10:30. And then from there, they were going to kind of go into the city, and they were going to go see the Rockettes, but they wanted to make sure they came to the island. So it's pretty amazing when you get stories of people driving 13 hours just to come to the museum, or, you have people coming in from Pennsylvania and Ohio, and when they come into the New York area, they want to make sure to make a trip to Long Island to check out the museum. It says a lot about the teams, and it says a lot about the story of Lone Survivor with Marcus and Michael and his team. So it's great to be here and be able to share that information with everybody.
That is pretty amazing. And, while we're on the subject, I want to say I'm honored, and I want to thank you guys that you guys added Skydive Sim adaptation to the museum. That's something I'm definitely very proud of being involved in.
Yeah.
We're honored to have you as a part of this, and to see how willing you were to collaborate and to try to help make this work. So
absolutely.
I'm just I love trying to figure out new things, especially in technology, and how can we, like you said, you weren't sure what we were doing,
right?
And we kind of opened your mind to what we were trying to do with our ideas, and then you were able to conceptualize that and mold it into what we have now. And I'm sure, over time we're going to try to make it better and have different iterations.
Right.
So it's just going to evolve.
Absolutely.
So we're blessed to have you.
Yeah.
Same here. Thank you both for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping we get to talk again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Amir.